313. Holy
15.
smokes. Okay, this is officially insane. This is crazy. The previous car.
19,
Yeah,
20,
321. Holy
There
smokes.
we go.
This video is brought to you by Kempower, the reliable, quick, and scalable EV charging solution for everyone and everywhere. And this video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world. They are also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage with microgrid solutions. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me back in Germany in the same studio where I presented the new Macan EV to you with the new Porsche Taycan refresh. Now, the Porsche Taycan, you and I have spent a lot of miles together in many different countries. We set the Cannonball record in one years ago, going New York to LA, breaking that record for CCS car. Well, we broke the entire record. Model S now has it. I think we might need to get it back at some point once you hear about what this car can do. But we've also driven countless miles around Germany at top speed, showcasing the charging performance, thermal management. We've done track days with this car. We've gone off-roading in the Cross Turismo. Truly, it's a car that we have thoroughly covered on this channel. And so I'm bringing yet another Taycan video to you, except this one you really have to watch because the new Taycan refresh has 100 miles more range, plus or minus, in the WLTP cycle. And, it was already like one of the best charging cars ever, but now it can charge at 320 kilowatts and hold it deeper than even the old car could. So, I have so much information to tell you. In this video, I'm going to take you on a full tour of all of the changes from the pre-refresh to the post-refresh. We're going to go for a quick ride in the car here. We're going to go to Weissach, where the car was engineered. We're going to plug it in, do a charging session. I mean, so much information all in one video. And of course, I might miss some things, so you may have Cutaway Kyle back at the office where I'm going to explain some further details to you. But here I have a Cross Turismo and a sedan. Let's go through all the changes of the new refreshed Porsche Taycan. Guys, I'd like to thank Climate Exchange for sponsoring this Out of Spec video. Climate Exchange is giving away $112,000 worth of electric vehicle that you can custom order. It's a pretty cool program, actually. This is a raffle that they'll let you build, spec, and order your dream electric vehicle about up to the cost of a fully loaded Model X Plaid, and they'll even pay for all the taxes and charging installation, plus some cash prizes as well. Truly never heard of something this cool, so I'm really excited about it. Carbonraffle.org to get your tickets. In years past, they have sold out completely. It ends very soon, so go and get the remaining tickets, again, on carbonraffle.org. If you're curious, Climate Exchange is a nonprofit organization working on policy to fight climate change, which is why they're supporting the electric vehicle movement, and of course, here at Out of Spec. So thanks to them for sponsoring this video. Well, guys, you join me back just outside the Stuttgart area where I have just flown in and wrote down as much information with the engineers and all the nerd stuff about these cars because I'm just blown away by what I'm learning. So forgive me for referencing some notes that I jotted down, but I do want to mention sort of what is this car. So the Taycan is built on what's called the J1 platform internally. Of course, Volkswagen Group has all their major platforms. Macan, for example, is built on PPE. This and e-tron GT are J1. And J1's really a Porsche development. So this is truly an electric sports car from Porsche and a four-door sedan sports car, if you will. We've done track days, we've done everything with this car to showcase its performance, and Porsche has just cranked the dial up to 12 for this refresh. On the outside, it looks pretty much the same. And in fact, if you guys come back here to show you the rear of this car, this is a standard rear-wheel drive Taycan. There are no changes, as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe little things here and there, but for the most part, there's no way I would see this going down the road and go, that's the new Taycan. You just wouldn't know. So I think a lot of existing owners still, of course, have an amazing car. It still charges pretty much class leading the current vehicle, but the efficiency has been increased in this one. The charging performance has been increased. The battery pack is huge now. We're talking 97 kilowatt hours usable, and I wrote down some extra stuff. We'll get into all the details, but this is the car I really want to show you. We love wagons on this channel. This is the Cross Turismo. In this particular specification, it's the turbo trim. Oak green was available as a paint to sample color previously. Now it's actually part of the like special color option, and this is the only color, if you're an out of spec viewer, you're allowed to order your car in. It is so good that I better see a sea of oak green Cross Turismos cruising around Colorado, because this is just epic, really cool. No Sport Turismo at the moment. The GTS, it will maybe be updated in the near future with all the new stuff, but for the moment we are back to just sedan and Cross Turismo. So the trims that are available are the rear wheel drive and the 4S. Both of those cars are available with a small battery or big battery. And then you have the top trims, the Turbo and Turbo S. In the middle, maybe we'll see it in the future sometime. Hey guys, it's Future Kyle, and wow, so much has happened since I shot this video about 1 month ago. You guys would have already seen the videos that were just posted before this one, where I drove over 455 miles in the new Taycan. What did I do? 465, just about 750 kilometers. That was a hyper mile test, low speed. Again, not really like a customer use case, but it's cool to know how far we could go. I will get the car for the 70 mile per hour test as soon as possible. And I've already had a chance to log the entire charging curve. That video went up yesterday, so I can show you from 0 to 100%. This program that I'm shooting on now, I was actually at before I even knew I could go to that California thing. So you'll forgive me for kind of stumbling through, and maybe it's a little bit out of order, but we will get you all the information wrapped up in this one video. So I just wanted to make that clear up front. If it sounds like I'm quoting, 320 kilowatts instead of the 335 peak that we saw when charging delivered to the car, well, it's because that hadn't happened yet. So bear with me on all of this, but I'm thrilled to bring this car to you. You'll see me popping in and out throughout the video to provide more context. Back to the studio. Let's talk big changes right off the bat. Well, what I want to do is explain that there was a lot of development costs that went into the J12, if you will, the updated version. And internally, Porsche calls it the PA, by the way. So if you ever see like Taycan PA, they do the same for Cayenne, Macan, just like their term for facelift, like BMW's LCI. I wrote down some stats that I think you guys will find interesting. 25% of the development cost went to increasing the performance of the vehicle. As an example, there's an entirely new suspension system with Porsche Active Ride available, has fully adjustable hydraulic dampers, and beyond that, it can actually adjust the height of the vehicle. I don't know if this one's selected to open. No, I might have the option off at the moment, but you can have it where you open the door and it'll shoot straight up. We saw all this with the Panamera refresh, but I'll walk you through all of that in this video. There's also a track preparation mode that will pre-chill the battery and the motors. So in between track sessions, if you throw it on a DC charger, for example, I think Atlanta Motorsports Park just installed a bunch of DC chargers. The big tracks are all getting DC charging. You can run the track cooling and it will pre-chill the battery down to 10 degrees Celsius along with the motor, so that you have the most amount of thermal longevity for the track days. And truly, a lot of Taycan owners do go to track days. I've seen them out at COTA, I've seen them at Laguna Seca, I've seen them on the Nürburgring. Taycan owners use their cars as intended, which is really cool. So 25% of the development cost went to performance. I should also mention that we all know that Taycan gives you more power and launch control. So the old Turbo S, I just want to reference the number, was 560 kilowatts of power in launch control, which is the maximum performance. The new Turbo S, without launch control, just cruising normally, is 570 kilowatts of power. When you put it in launch control, you get 700 kilowatts, which is like 850 something horsepower. Okay, we're not talking plaid numbers. This car's more than just straight line acceleration. But later on in this video, we're gonna do a few launches and I'll at least show you my experience of how it feels. It certainly rips pretty hard. So the performance, okay, has increased. Also on the base car, we'll get into all that in a little bit. 29% of the cost went to efficiency. Now, this is the kind of stuff I care about. Long distance, high charging speed. really becoming the ultimate road tripper. A big topic of the Macan video that we did was they wanted that to be the ultimate road tripping SUV. 270 kilowatts of charging power deep into the pack on that one. This one, 320 kilowatts of charging power maximum, and so many cool tools that you can optimize it. In terms of efficiency, again, we're now basically 108 miles more range than the outgoing version. It's about 35% more efficient. On the base car, 34% more efficient on the Turbo S for the nerd viewers watching. However, that's WLTP. In the EPA cycle, maybe by the time this video goes up, again, I shoot these way in advance is when I'm allowed to share them with you. I don't know if we'll see a 300-mile EPA range. I'm guessing we will on some trims, but there have been a lot of improvements to wheel and tire packages. I'm going to show you the wheel and tire I recommend to balance looks and range. I think there's a pretty cool one. It's on neither of these cars, but it's out there, so I'll make sure you see that. And 16% of the development cost went to charging. That's the big one. Stay tuned to the end of this video because we're going to go on a test drive to the development center. We're going to plug it into a DC charger. And just a hint, I added or delivered 20.3 kilowatt hours to the battery pack in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. We're talking under 4 minutes, getting more than 20 kilowatt hours into the car. That means that most charging stops in this car are going to be a flash. They were already crazy fast in the previous vehicle. And just on that topic, this thing can charge from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes, matching Hyundai, Kia, Genesis. That's great. But keep in mind, it's a much bigger battery pack. And the previous Taycan, which I thought was an amazing performance in terms of charging, could charge from 10 to 80% in 21 and a half minutes. Most of the numbers, by the way, Porsche communicated were 22 and a half minutes, but that was from 5 to 80%. So from 10 to 80, 21 and a half. So it's not only gets to 80% faster than the old car, but you're adding way more energy because the battery pack's bigger. So on the topic of batteries, what are the two battery packs on offer? Again, only the base trims, the rear wheel drive and the 4S, at least at launch, can be optioned with the standard battery pack. The standard battery pack is 89 kilowatt hours gross, 83.6 kilowatt hours usable. I don't have much info on charging speeds or anything like that. To be honest, the Porsche is really focusing on the big battery. And with Taycan, I think most people go with the big battery option. Very rarely do I actually see a small battery Taycan. One thing I thought they did was they took the old large battery and made that the new small battery. That's like what Audi did when they went to the Q8 e-tron refresh. That's not the case here. So they're actually totally new battery chemistries. It's 811 instead of 622 for NMC components. So less cobalt, but also larger operational window of charging. And the big battery, the big story here is 105 kilowatt hour gross battery pack in this thing. Crazy good. And 97 kilowatt hour usable, which is what matters to you. Keep in mind, the outgoing big battery was 83.7 kilowatt hour usable. So we're going from 83.7 kilowatt hours to 97 kilowatt hours, faster charging, and the battery weighs less. It's like 5 or 8 kilos less, something like that, from the outgoing car. Okay, is that enough raw numbers for you at the moment? Should we just explore these things and look at a little bit more of the design? New motors, everything. There's so much to get into. Okay, so up front, the big change here are the headlights. This is really the only way to spot the new Taycan. It has a new optimized front grille, but on the standard car, very minor changes. And this one has the HD matrix light. There's like 32,000 projectors in each headlight unit. It's just crazy. In the US, of course, we don't get the functionality of the matrix stuff, which is kind of a bummer, but I don't know, they're brighter, they should be crazy. I watched a little video, I'll insert the clip of them doing their matrix stuff. They seem to be really snappy, really accurate, and I hope soon they will come to the US. So up front, really looking pretty much the same. There is a change though on the Turbo and Turbo S models. This goes for sedan or Cross Turismo, and that is on the rear bumper, the rear fascia. They have this extra little slot here. Now this is what they really cared about, just this little arrow change, and then they had to put in a fake vent. Fake vent for police, oh no. It actually doesn't really matter to me so much, but I know Drew is cringing at this at the moment. But ultimately this helps reduce some drag and give it a little bit more muscular stance. I like it personally. Let me know what you think. Some other little changes, standard on I believe Turbo and Turbo S is the light up Porsche badge. in the back, optional on the standard car. I don't know if I like that so much, but it's not as bad as the light up Volkswagen badge for like the US built ID4, so that's not so bad. Everything else, again, very tame. This is really a technical update. And we've seen Volkswagen Group doing this recently. Q8 e-tron, also technical update. Little things, more standard equipment. Power charge port door is now completely standard, so there's no more manual charge port. This was actually a really curious decision for me because on old Taycan, when you would spec the manual port, you got a air scarf here, reduced a lot of the high pressure area that was coming out of the wheel well so that it could relieve some of that. It was actually better for brake cooling, better for track performance, better for efficiency. And so now that you have no opportunity to get a manual charge port on any Taycan. Okay, no big deal. I've had this in, by the way, in freezing temperatures and crazy snow. Personally, I've never had an issue with the power charge port, so I wouldn't worry much about that. That is pretty tried and true and proven. Some other changes on the top spec models where you can spot the new updated Taycan would be up here. There's this kind of weird looking thing carved into the front bumper. I don't even know how to describe that. You guys know I'm not always a design guy. I'm the nerd here, so I hope Thomas from AutoGefühl gives us a full design walkthrough. Has he been here yet? Have you seen him? Not yet? Okay, but hopefully Thomas will come and give us a full walkthrough because he's always great with the design details. But this one has the Turbo Night package, which all turbos have, which is sort of this gray and silver trim as standard. So I think in summary, outside, pretty much unchanged. Small little things from the headlights, different fenders. We're talking just like a little bit less rounded out here actually. It's all very minor stuff. If you parked a new one against an old one, maybe someone with a keen eye would tell a difference. And the inside, it's much the same story. So actually, let's show the sedan. Let's go over here. This one has a little bit lighter interior. I think we'll show a little bit better on camera. So if you come on over here to the driver's side, sorry to make you run around. I just want to show that there's almost no change to the interior. You can see if you peek in this way that the steering wheel in this one's spec'd with Alcantara, but the seats are pretty much the same. New materials here or there. The PCM has been updated with faster route planning and some more services, but also has the Apple CarPlay, like the extreme version that you can like set all the vents with, and we'll play around with that when we get it. But of course it has Android Auto, but the Apple CarPlay integration is crazy. So I guess that's one technical change. And route planning, like I mentioned, should be faster. The back seat, this one's configured to be a 4-seat, but you can of course still option a 5-seat configuration. Some other small changes that are probably worthy of note are the driver assistance system. You can now get a little bit better active lane keeping with traffic jam assist, which is a like hands-off function. Also, you can see here, soft close doors now available on Taycan, which is really nice because I always close them and they get like halfway closed. Here I am not getting it halfway closed. Let me close it a little bit lighter. This shouldn't be new technology. Everyone understands how soft close works. There we go. And then the window should go up at some point. There we go. But the trunk space is still the same. And you know, like overall, Taycan is not an extremely spacious vehicle. You know, the theory on this one, I don't really know what happened here, but it's quite a large car, but the space and packaging is pretty tight. It feels like a sports car on the inside. Yeah, there's plenty of headroom. There's plenty of, you know, knee room and stuff in the front seat, but me sitting in the back seat, not that great. The Cross Turismo does help quite a bit, does give you a larger rear trunk, and I'll just show you, there's also a front trunk as well. Let's just explore, see if there's any differences on these before we get into all the nerd stuff. But you can see cargo space, totally unchanged from the outgoing model. Seats fold down. I've done plenty of reviews showing you all of that. Let me pop the front trunk here really quick. The keys hidden somewhere. The car is on, so I can't do the cool hood trick, which is where you would just basically hover over the front bumper. You don't even need to swipe it and it'll pop the front trunk here. And this is completely unchanged. You still have your roadside assistance kit with a tire inflator on this side. Some other things. I don't even know what's on this side in the Euro cars. Tire pressure gauge, your towing eye. Nice. Just in case you ever need any of those things. But your front trunk is unchanged here. Lots of little calibrations here for the refresh. Brake pedal's been recalibrated. The suspension system is a huge change from the outgoing car. We'll talk about that as we go for a drive. But ultimately, that's your high-level overview of the differences. I'm going to go inside, play around with the software a little bit, see if we can find any new menus, and of course, make sure you get a comprehensive list of old versus new. But here you go, the new Taycans. They look unchanged, but wow, the beast got crazier. The charging is what I'm most excited about. The performance with the ability to even pre-chill the car before going out for a rip or doing crazy charging sessions, I absolutely love. The en-route battery preconditioning and route planning getting even better, more optimized, faster, awesome. So much to explore with these cars, of course, but let's go through all the technical details now, the software, all the fun stuff, and then of course we'll go drive and charge it. Well guys, you join me behind the camera now. I'm just in another area of the studio, and yeah, just wanted to show you this. This is the Turbo S, and they got it dumped out on, these are the Aero wheels. They're the 20-inch Aero wheels, I think, and this is the new Hankook Evo Ion, or Ion Evo, I guess I should say, and they're made in Hungary, extra load, EV adapted tire. It's an OE Porsche tire, but this is actually the same tire that like the Kia EV9 comes on actually, which is pretty cool. But you can see it's got the NF0 marking on there, indicating the Porsche certification there. Just trying to look for actually the size. Oh yeah, here we go. These are the 21-inch wheels, excuse me. So these are the 21-inch Aeros, and apparently these give you, in the WLTP cycle, like 40 kilometers more range than the old 21-inch Mission E wheels, this with this tire. And if they have a new updated Mission E wheel as well that gives you like 12 kilometers more range. By the way, the Mission E wheel's always the most power hungry wheel on the Taycan, so they've really optimized the wheels. To be honest, these look amazing. I really like the balance of the Aero, but then you still get a big 21-inch wheel. And I was talking to the guys and they're like, yeah, there's really not much difference between this and like the old 19-inch Aero wheels. So these are what I would go for. I think they look absolutely awesome. They have this sort of cool insert, but I don't think it's removable section through here. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be removable, but that is a good looking wheel and tire. So, okay. We have so much to dive into on this car, and where I want to start on the nerd stuff is actually with the suspension. So the standard car that's in the studio, let me just show you really quick. I'm just going to walk in over here behind the scenes. You can see my travel bag. That's the standard car there on the left. This one actually has a two-chamber air suspension. And it's actually even almost better performing than the old air suspension with Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. There is no more Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control in this car. There's actually no more, that ran on 48 volt by the way. There's no more 400 volt bus or 48 volt bus at all in the Taycan. It is now 12 volt and 800 volt for the battery pack. So they've removed a lot of complexity. Updated AC chiller that is now 800 volt directly. The old one, they needed a 400 volt bus so that the AC chiller, they just couldn't get an 800 volt off the shelf part. Keep in mind, in 2019 when this car launched and years ahead when it was actually being developed, this is one of the first high voltage electric vehicles that came to the market. So Porsche had to basically have a 800 volt system for everything they could get, a 400 volt system for all the parts they couldn't get to 800 volts, a 48 volt system to run Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control and some other performance applications, and then of course 12 volt low voltage for everything. So that's all gone. So now the new standard air suspension, no spring available in any market for the new Taycan. It is only air suspension, even on the small battery rear wheel drive, actually pretty much matches or outperforms the old PDCC top spec air suspension in terms of comfort and performance, and I can overlay some spider charts for you. That's cool. I think most people are going to be really happy with that, and that's probably going to be the most popular suspension on the new Taycan. However, there is a new cool, I don't know what the price is going to be, but I can't imagine it's going to be cheap, option called the Porsche Active Ride. And Porsche Active Ride is just pretty incredible. This car has it. I'm going to show you some functions that it can do in a little bit, but I just want to run over to a display that they have to explain how Active Ride works and what it can do for you. Okay, here we go. Here's the magic. We have basically a air chamber, damper, all in one with hydraulic, and I'm going to do my best, not a suspension engineer, someone who's fascinated with suspension, but I'm not a suspension engineer, to explain roughly how this system works. First, for you guys to understand what it can do is when you unlock the car, it will raise up and meet you at the high ride height level. and I will show you that in a moment. It's pretty cool. Audi had something similar to this with the A8 back in the day, but this is using pure hydraulics. I'm not sure how their system worked. By the way, this is the lowest suspension. It just looks so good dumped out like this. And this car, of course, has Porsche Active Ride. So that's cool. It can, boom, you open the door and it raises up. The other thing is when you hit the brakes, it will counteract the deceleration forces by lifting the front up. When you hit the accelerator pedal, it'll lift the rear up. So you kind of lean forwards into the acceleration. Now, when I drove the Panamera, this was extremely noticeable. This was, I would argue, kind of annoyingly noticeable. I did not like that. I didn't like leaning into the corners. It just felt a little artificial. Just gonna roll into it mid-range torque. Now I'm matted, and it freaking boogies as you get on the brakes. Whoa! It feels like the whole suspension's broken. The higher speed you are, the more noticeable it is. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's for me, these comfort features, but everything else about the suspension, so into it. As we're coming into this corner, the camera, of course, won't pick it up at all, but as we do some steering input, this side of the car has lifted up. We are now leaning into the corner, and it's quite interesting. It's also available only in normal mode. When you put it in sport mode, it seems to shut off, but I can also shut it off mid-corner. We can fall back down, and then I hit it, and we'll raise back up. It's super kind of fun to play around with, and definitely an interesting sensation. I think a lot of people are going to love it, and a lot of people are going to hate it, is my impression. And I think Porsche maybe took the hint and really tuned down the gimmicky effect here in the Taycan. In the Taycan, it is tuned wonderfully. And we're gonna go out for a ride in a car after these clips towards the end. I've already done it, of course, and I just thought, wow, okay, they nailed the tuning on the Porsche Active Ride. Now, all of those counteracting functions, those are actually comfort features. So they're really only available in, when the suspension's sort of in the soft setting, when the damper's set to normal, and it's there to make your ride more comfortable. But there's also some performance benefits as well, and that's when you not get the over-exaggeration, but it's when you get to the hydraulic stuff. Actually, sort of like Rivian, there is no physical sway bar on this vehicle. It uses hydraulics to control the roll stiffness. It can also essentially independently unlink the wheels so that if one wheel is hitting bumps on one side of the car, it doesn't affect the other side. Now, BMW has actually done this with the i7 that we drove. If you guys remember the i7 M70 that I drove in Portugal. However, that vehicle uses a physical 48-volt disconnect switch that disconnects the left and right sway bars. This system is completely variable. It happens so fast, way faster than you could ever put an input into the vehicle, and it's incredible. The suspension system runs directly off the 800-volt battery pack, which is so cool. Also eliminates the need for a 48-volt bus. So it's an 800-volt suspension system. Now, I'm unsure of the total power in the Taycan, but at least in the Panamera, each motor, hydraulic motor that feeds the inlet here and the outlet right here for your hydraulic inputs to the damper was 5 kilowatts per motor. And they're actually silicon carbide inverters as well, permanent magnet motors.
It's what was development challenge to get it as small to fit in.
Yeah, I mean, it's very small for how much force this can apply to.
It was like this.
Yeah. How much does this weigh?
I think it's about 8 kilograms. Yeah. We can finish the Porsche Active Ride, so the oil is going inside here.
Yeah.
And it's even one, each hole goes to one valve. So we have the same valves here, like in the semi-active one.
Yeah.
The dampers in principle the same.
Yeah.
It just has a bigger diameter for the hydraulic ratio.
Right.
So the semi-active can do plus minus 6,000 Newton,
Yeah.
and the active one can plus minus 10,000.
But actively.
Actively,
Yeah.
because we can switch the direction here, and on the semi-active, the direction is switched by the wheel.
That means that the total suspension system is 20 kilowatts of power maximum. Now, you're never really going to achieve that. That's only under, I don't even know if you could get the car in a scenario where it would request 20 kilowatts of power to the suspension at once, but it is pretty crazy to think about that. Now, the way that it essentially works is you have an air spring, which is this chamber right here that holds the weight of the car for the most part. Porsche said they actually had some test mules that eliminated the air spring and ran completely on the hydraulic system, and it was totally fine. It was just power hungry because it constantly had to run the motors to hold the weight of the car. So the point of the air chamber really is just to hold the weight of the vehicle. And then you have a dual valve damper. You have a compression and rebound adjustment control right here for your damper, so you can adjust the ride stiffness and everything. So essentially the power consumption is very minimal of this system. You're really, like I said, the system can output 20 kilowatts max to the hydraulic, but it's almost off most of the time. However, when you have a big input or you need to adjust something here in the suspension, it can in real time, pretty much faster than you can even notice, will react by pumping, or I guess charging or discharging, if you will, the pressure inside the damper from this hydraulic system right here. So I know that's a long explanation, but it's an unbelievably cool suspension option. And for me as a car driving nerd, it unlocks new possibilities, new experiences that you just could never achieve with a fully connected suspension system. And again, I'm talking from experience here because I already drove the Panamera that has the Porsche Active Ride. And wow, from a performance setting and how stiff that car can really get if you want it to, wow, I can't wait to experience it fully electric here on Taycan. But honestly, I think the feature you guys are gonna love the most and that I love the most is where it greets you at ride height level. So let's go try that out over here on the green one. Okay, well, I just jammed you guys full of information about how the suspension actually works, but I didn't show you anything interesting. So I mentioned there's the one feature that I think you and I will love the most, which is actually getting in and out of the car. For something so complicated, that's pretty mundane, but let's hit unlock. You'll see the car will come to life. You'll see the startup animation back here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab the door handle and you're gonna watch the car zoom, shoot up, which is pretty cool. So right now I have the car parked in low suspension, which is the lowest. Lowered is higher than low. Maybe that didn't translate so well into English, but that's okay. So anyway, let's see how quickly this operates. And again, it's going to be raising, not using air, but using completely the hydraulic system. And again, this is only 10% of the force that it can lift the car. Watch this. How crazy is that? And then I can just get in so much easier. And again, I like the car slammed, but I don't like getting in and out of it slammed. I can close the door. So here we go. And then wait a second, the car will come down and rest itself. It's pretty silent in operation. Boom, shot me right back up. It's a cool feeling getting out of the car. You go, whoa. Apparently the Porsche engineer said, I don't know if they were joking or not, but if they were to run the system at 100%, it would actually jump, which I think would be pretty incredible. So there you go. Let's go inside the car, nerd out on all the software details. Then we'll jump in the car, drive it and charge it. And then finally we can end this video. Powering up the Taycan now. There are a few changes inside the car. First of all, the turbo gets this sort of turbo night style. I think the Turbo S also gets these gauges from the outside, which looks pretty cool. Yeah, steering wheel all looks pretty much the same, just with the new turbo dark turbo night badge, I think is exactly what it's called. And then the software is just sort of optimized a little bit, but it all looks pretty similar. So I kind of just want to run through everything and see if I can spot any differences from the outgoing car. By the way, in terms of the adaptive cruise control, we have lane keeping assist, we have mode, here, let's go out of here, adaptive cruise control, limiter, and then lane keeping, that all looks pretty similar. Distance control, also there in my head-up display. So you can see up there, I can change the distance to the car in front. So that's all normal, all looking good. Slightly updated head-up display graphics, nothing too crazy. But if I come here, of course, just like other Taycan, you have your three main gauges, and then your fourth one highlights the head-up display. So on the left side, you have sort of your driving assistance mode. This will tell you, whoops, sorry for hitting the camera, speed limit, adaptive cruise control, that's kind of what you would use there, G meter, tire pressures, and then this is the one I think everyone's just going to leave it on, which is a screen, interestingly, to tell you how fast you can charge in the real time. I really love this function. Volkswagens do it now with their new software. Mercedes does as well, but I love that at any moment in time I can know what it'll get on a fast charger. Now at 73%, I already know this car is going to do way more than 40 kilowatts, but it may want to be in this temperature range in order to charge fast. Could also just be a pre-production car and not ready to rip, but I promise you, I will share the charging curves with you towards the end of this video, and it's pretty incredible. But yeah, could just be that the battery is cold and doesn't want to charge that fast up top, or pre-production stuff. I don't know. Another gauge, this is sort of the driver assistance view. It can show up to 5 cars around you now with lane centering. It'll give you the steering wheel over here that it's active lane centering, all of that. We have our map view. We have our extended map view. We have, and then our sort of reduced mode, which just kind of puts on the speedometer and nothing else. So I prefer this mode here, personally. I like data overload, lap times, and I like all of this data too. Although now that we have all of this stuff over here, which is very similar to the Cayenne plug-in hybrid and the Macan, maybe I don't need to use this menu so much. Maybe there's other information. Yeah, probably just keep on my trip information. This is probably how I would drive Taycan most of the time, set up kind of like this, and then have the head-up display again with as much information as it can show. The drive mode settings have changed a little bit as well, as with a new function called push to pass. It's not available now because I'm in park, but I can hit this button in any drive mode at any time and I get 10 seconds of boost. And it's 10 seconds from the moment you hit the button, it will give you the boost. Then you have to wait 10 seconds for it to cool down or whatever, just after you use it, and then you can use it again. So it's really meant to be like on a straightaway, or if you're going for a pass and you just need a bit more boom. In the Taycan Turbo S, for example, it will go from 570 kilowatts to 640. It's not quite as much as the launch control power, which is 700 kilowatts, but you know, boom, lets you go. It does stress the motors, the inverters, heats up things a little bit, which is why I guess Porsche wants you to have it as a button. My preference would be just give it to me at wide open throttle. Don't make me hit the button. That's just what I would want. By the way, I should also mention the rear wheel drive does not qualify for this. It's only available in the large battery pack with all-wheel drive. So 4S, future GTS, I assume that will be coming. Turbo and Turbo S will have this one, but anything with the small battery or with rear wheel drive will not get push to pass, just so you know. Okay, more information. This one is equipped with the Sport Chrono Pack, and actually I think every Taycan comes with a clock up there. That's just old Porsche stuff coming out for Kyle. Ignore that. This indicates really the Sport Chrono Pack. But yeah, let's go through here, see if anything is different from a software perspective. So our navigation, let's try some route planning. We are, of course, right near Weissach, near the engineering center. So let's say we want to go to Leipzig. Whoops, L-E-I-P-Z. Well, the keyboard is all messed up. I think that's how you spell Leipzig. Okay, searching. There we go. Let's see how fast I can route plan. Okay, come on. Not as fast as Macan yet. It says negative 41% arrival. Calculating. Okay, construction zone. Calculating. Come on, Porsche! You told me it was going to be 3 times faster than the outgoing Taycan. Maybe it is 3 times faster than the outgoing Taycan. That felt about the same, if you ask me. But it's doing online route calculation, and we really don't have much of a signal in here. But I'm not here to make excuses. You were here with me and saw that, and it added this HPC high power charger along the way. There's also a cool function now, which I've never seen before, which is I can tell this car not only to remove the charging stop, we've seen that a bunch, but there's a setting in here somewhere that I can tell it, don't ever go to this charger ever again. I don't really know how to do it at the moment, but maybe you go here. Yeah, do not schedule charging station, which means that this car will never go there. So if you have a station that is typically along your route that's always busy or full or not working, you can say, don't ever consider this one for a route plan. I love that. That is such a cool function, especially for the EV nerds who understand not every charging station is equal. And I love that Porsche does that right there. I think that's a really nice touch. So that's some of the route planning stuff. You know, Porsche's route planning is amazing. You can choose your state of charge on arrival down to, I think, 3% to get to a charging station, which is really great. There are some functions in the car. For example, the drive modes have changed a little bit. There's no more individual mode. When I turn this, you'll notice it's just range, normal, sport, and sport plus. But what I can do is I can go in here and configure sport. So I can go sport, and then chassis in normal to retain some of the Porsche Active Ride comfort functions. I can put it to slam dunk low suspension, and the electric sport sound's been revised as well with the update. Sounds actually totally different than the outgoing one. I still don't like it. I would turn it off. And then I can save this so that every time I go to sport, it will save with my preferences. It's so nice. The car does have to start in normal mode just for regulations for EPA, for WLTP testing. It's always key up settings. However, as soon as you switch the dial into sport, now I have my settings. And of course, you can quick revert everything back to the way you want it. But keep it in low because the car looks good when it's at the lowest ride height. See if there's anything new here. Intelligent speed adaptation to the route, lane keeping. All of this is pretty normal stuff, but this lane keeping might be a little bit improved from the previous one. It needed improvement, right? It has one of the best driver takeover warnings, like when we do the hog pack, it was really good at that. But the active lane keeping in Taycan was always really bad, especially in comparison to Tesla and some other cars. So I really hope they've improved the lane centering function and to actually make it, I would say, work well on a long trip. Speaking of trips, here's all your trip data laid out much nicer than the existing car. This, again, very similar to the Cayenne and Macan systems here. And then we have some comfort functions. We have, let's see, does this one have no massaging seat in this one? Ambient lighting we can change. And then here is where you get the Porsche Active Ride functions. Active tilt control, active pitch control. And this is only available, again, if I put the chassis to normal mode, but I can still go low suspension, okay? And then I can go here to active ride, and I can put tilt control or pitch control for the car to counteract some of these forces, which is, okay, maybe how I would drive it if I got used to it. I really like the Taycan tuning over the other car. Okay, let's see, climate we're not going to dig into. Charging is important for you guys. Now you have a global state of charge limit. You can set it down to 25 to 30 to 35% for storage, 50% maybe for daily if you're just driving around town, 80% if you're doing long distance daily driving, and then 100% if you want to. The recommendation now, it says, please avoid leaving the battery fully charged for long duration. I think that's smart. Let's see, it says anything above 90% goes orange. Interestingly, because anything above 80% in the Macan goes orange. Me personally, you guys know, I charge my cars to anywhere between 30 and 50% daily, 80% if I have a long trip to do, and then only 100 for a trip. I never let the car limit me, but I, of course, do take into account battery longevity, and this is a good way to do it. Let's see, capability mode. Okay, interesting. So this is like a plug-in charge, fallback, activate plug-in charge, and there's no more like battery-friendly quick charging. So it just always rips on DC charging. Interesting. Didn't expect to see that, to be honest. So that is pretty interesting. And you, of course, have preconditioning. When you click unlock on the key, it will automatically cool down the car as a setting. Yeah, I really thought we would see, you know, sort of battery-friendly quick charging, which we do not. I've done a whole video on it if you're curious what that does. Just limited the maximum temperature and speeds. I guess they found it was not necessary. Interesting. Sport Chrono has this track endurance mode, which is pretty cool. So I can hit prepare vehicle. Let's see what happens. It says ready. Okay. When track endurance mode starts, vehicle automatically switches to Sport Plus mode. So let's hit start. Okay. Track endurance mode active. This thing has gone blue for cooling. It's gone into Sport Plus mode, and it's ripping, starting to spin up the AC compressor. Now, what I want to find out is, can I exit the vehicle, and will it remember to stay in this mode? Did I leave the key in here? Yes, let's just take it with me. Okay, so let's give it a go. We've exited, we've locked. Maybe it doesn't want to shut off at the moment. Yep, I don't know why. Okay, doesn't matter. But you can see the chiller, you probably won't be able to hear it through my mic, but the chiller is going on this thing. So it is pre-cooling the battery and the motors to cool everything down. What I want to know, of course, is will it do it when we shut off the car? Nope, it has shut off the chiller as soon as we shut off the car. So maybe that's why it didn't auto turn off. Has to keep the car on, apparently, for the endurance mode to work. Now, my understanding is you can do this while it's connected to a DC fast charger. So in between sessions, you can rip the cooling. And while it's on the charger, it will cool down, which is really great. So yeah, track endurance mode shut off there. And then of course you can evaluate your lap times. It has a collection of tracks that are in here that are popular. And I can't wait to play around with all that. That seems cool. But I really love this track endurance mode. Really cool. We'll shut it off there. And so the battery's at 21 degrees Celsius right now. I believe it brings it to 10 is its target temperature. So very, very cool. And yeah, you can reference against like a ghost car to follow you and stuff like that. Really, really neat stuff. Of course, there's over-the-air software updates. Porsche's not been great with those, to be honest. The software for Taycan's been buggy since the beginning. You know, I've driven them plenty. The screen crashes occasionally. Just so much bugginess in this car, and the over-the-air updates have really not been great. They happen occasionally, but it's nothing like Rivian or Tesla, and this is the main area of improvement I think Porsche needs to have, which is, you know, of course they build an incredibly high-quality, high-performing, great performance vehicle. But like, I also want the tech to be class leading. And yes, it can do some cool functions, and yes, it has route planning, but I want this screen to be bigger, and I really want, you know, all of the great updates and interactivity that I get. The climate control is unchanged. The screen is unchanged from the outgoing model. This all looks the same. Of course, we can pull up our AC menu here. Seemingly no Eco Plus AC anymore, just Eco. So that's interesting change. Also notice the same thing with the Macan. Air quality. You know, there's an ionizer, tells you if it's clean air in and out. All this stuff looks pretty much the same. Rear air we can shut off. We don't need it at the moment. So, okay, this all looks good. There is video, but no YouTube. So Macan has YouTube, Taycan doesn't. The reason is this is running on the old Porsche system, and the Macan is running on the new Google-based system. So I really would have hoped that they would have updated this to match the Macan, but they don't. But this still gets the cool Apple CarPlay integration. There is a passenger display, by the way, which a passenger can stream video while you're driving and have everything. This is really unchanged from the previous models, but I can't really see it from the driver's side. You can see it looks almost completely off, and as the camera comes around to the passenger seat position, you can see everything. So at first I thought, wow, that screen's really dim, but no, it is just based off of your perception here. And of course there's ambient lighting and heated seats now as standard in the car. That was an option before, crazy enough to think, but that's a Porsche way. And so heated seats are standard, cooled seats still an option. Okay, I think that's everything on the software. It's fairly unchanged. Let's go through some more nerd stuff and then we'll hit the charger. Guys, you joined me out for a ride with Tilo, and super nerd like us loves EVs. We've been talking about charging and performance stuff, playing around with this new active ride suspension, and Tilo's actually taking me to Weissach. We're going to the development center and we're gonna hit some rough roads, the famous Weissach rough road. I'm excited to experience that. The rumor is that they paid the city not to pave the road so they could have a standard test road. I believe they also have a digital twin for some simulation as well, if in case it ever does get paved over. But we are actually going there to experience charging, and you'll notice that I've preconditioned not to the Weissach charger because it's not actually in the public system here, but we're preconditioned to another charger, and the car is indicating 300 kilowatts of maximum power, and our battery temperature is in the middle of that fast charging window. So I have it preconditioning. I'm hoping it cools off a little bit on the way over there because I'd like to see big speeds for as long as possible. But yeah, just sitting here in the passenger seat, Taycan feels as good as ever. Not much has changed on the interior, a few little options here or there, but the power, Tilo, this thing rips. That push to pass boost function, my preference would have been if it was, whoa, my preference would have been if it was just like, okay, always there, but it is stressful on the batteries and the inverters and motors, so they really make you say, okay, give me everything right now, and it is way stronger than the last Turbo S. This is a huge upgrade in terms of performance, so very impressive from my side. All right, so we have arrived. What state of charge are we at actually before we plug in? Let's just take a look.
30 something.
Yeah, let's take a look here. So we are at 32% state of charge, 38 degrees Celsius. The car is indicating 290 kilowatts maximum. So we are plugging into the Porsche design charger here. Plug-in charge, I assume, is active at your development center.
It is.
And so one thing is, my understanding is that the communication time, especially on the car for the handshake, has been reduced to 6 seconds.
I don't know the exact value,
Yeah.
but it's reduced.
Yeah.
Predecessor.
So I saw 6 seconds on the car side and then roughly like 28 seconds on the charger side on average with your chargers. And so here we
there we
go.
go.
Okay, now we're
And now
charging.
it's getting crazy.
Yeah, let's see. I think I can come here to this menu. We get all the good stuff. Whoa,
Yeah.
317 kilowatt peak we shot up to there. 307. So it's just sitting above 300 kilowatts at 33%. Crazy. No noise, no fans. I just want to see, so 310 kilowatts there. Now that's what's being delivered to the plug.
We are already with 312,
313. Holy
15.
smokes. Okay, this is officially insane. This is crazy. You know, the previous car.
19,
Yeah,
20,
321. Holy
There we
smokes.
go.
Hell yes, that's what we like to see. I want to see what it shows in the car. We've already added almost 3.5 kilowatt hours in 45 seconds. Just crazy. Holy smokes. And you can see the car is green, meaning it's getting everything it wants. When this line is gray, it means it's not getting everything it wants. But here we go, 306 kilowatts at 36%. Whoa, absolutely crazy. Now, can we stay until we have a taper, or do you have to unplug for other rides?
Yeah,
Or
we have to unlock for the next ride, but we can charge up to 50%.
Okay.
So we still have a little bit to go.
yeah, so let's charge up to 50%. But this is insane. So the chiller just kicked on the car,
Yes.
and so it's gone into its, I guess, high performance charging mode. And I would say even a quieter chiller or better insulated than before. Seems pretty quiet.
Yeah.
And it's cold out here, which should help as well. So 407 amps I saw there for a moment, and you can see it's compensating roughly for the AC chiller. So it's that's interesting. Kicking on and off, fans are on. Wow, still ripping. 321 kilowatts.
23?
323.
23 on the
So
video.
what's going into the battery is actually probably fairly constant, but the charger is compensating for the extra load of the chiller, which is pretty good to see. So you can run preconditioning and other things.
Well, the
10 kilowatt hours in 2 minutes. Holy shit. That's just next freaking level. Oh my God. Yeah, this is going to break the cannonball record now. For sure. For sure. This is unbelievable. And so at what point does it start hitting 300 kilowatts? Is it from dead or from 5% or?
well, it depends on temperature, but it's quite low, much lower than the predecessor. You already have the higher
Right, higher charging power.
Yeah.
And it
charging
can start with high charging performance 10 degrees Celsius cooler
Exactly,
than the previous
exactly,
car.
yeah.
So this is
power. And
just,
it can hold on to a higher state of charge as well.
yeah. So at what point does it really taper? At like 65%, somewhere around there?
Somewhere about there, yeah.
Holy smokes. This makes the Macan look slow. This is really, so we're at 800 volts charging volts at 46%. So it's even a bit higher voltage than the previous battery pack is what it feels like. Do you know what it is full, what it goes up to?
No, I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, probably 850, I would think, maybe somewhere around there. Would be, we'll of course try it when we get the car in the US. But we're at 48% in 3 minutes.
So let's set the 20 kilowatt hours, and then we
Okay.
have a nice time for that.
Okay, very cool. So we have just a couple more kilowatt hours left to go. I want to check in the car one last time. This is so next level. Still ripping over 304 kilowatts, 306 kilowatts at 50%. The heater's running in the car. The battery temperature hasn't even climbed up that much. 305 kilowatts at 50%.
20 kilowatt hours.
Almost at 20 kilowatt hours. I've never charged a car so fast. That is, dude.
We have the no, we have
20,
the values.
20 kilowatt hours in 3 minutes and 58 seconds. High five, dude. That is just insane. Your colleagues are crazy. That is wild. So, damn. And we're here at the development center, which I can't show you, but it's such a cool place. And we've seen some things we shouldn't talk about. Just awesome. And we're not even at 50 degrees Celsius on the battery pack, 49 even after all that. I mean, it is cold outside.
Yeah,
it's
we
just below
still
freezing.
could go below, over 300.
Crazy. And I also like how there's a global state of charge limit now, just like Macan. And you can set it 25% for storage or all the way up if you need it. On the way back to the studio now, we got to do a full launch control. So this is Turbo S full car. And obviously it's not going to probably hook up.
-1 degree Celsius, but anyways.
and winter tires. Oh! Still rips though, I gotta tell you. That thing launches crazy. Wow. Okay, so you don't need any more acceleration. The old Turbo S, I was like, okay, maybe you need a bit more. This one, I think, covers it. That's awesome. That's awesome.
You ready?
Ready. Damn. It boogies. Well, guys, there's still more information to share on the Porsche Taycan. I'm going to be going through like a really in-depth walkthrough just to make sure you guys fully understand everything on the Out of Spec podcast. And that will probably go up either the next day after this one goes up or the day after. There's still more to unpack with this car, still more stories to tell. But again, if you're curious more on the charging, I have a full charging analysis, 0 to 100% on the previous video. This was a great sneak preview early on. Again, it's shot a little bit out of order, but this is just, you know, insane performance from a charging perspective. And of course, I went 465 miles on a charge, but I've never really done a range test procedure like that. It was more of a silly experiment more than anything. My prediction at 70 miles an hour is, I don't know, maybe 365 miles in our test. That's my guess. You know, the car weighs less than the outgoing car. It's 34 to 35% more range than the outgoing car. A lot of that comes from, yes, bigger battery, but also more efficiency, the new motors. I don't know if I totally clarified it in this video, but it still retains a 2-speed on the rear axle, which, that was kind of a bummer from my side. I always thought that was the clunkiest, weirdest part of the Taycan. And I get it when I drive the car in Germany. I'm like, wow, it rips at high speed. And yeah, it makes sense for that market. But for the US market, or even for the base cars, like maybe just keep it in the Turbo S if you need to match acceleration of the, you know, I think it's 2.3 seconds 0 to 60 to try and get close to plaid. I don't know. The rumors of the really spicy car are still out there. To be honest, I don't have any more information on whatever crazy thing is going to be coming in hopefully just a few weeks. But that's the thing that set the Nürburgring lap record, and I'm sure more lap records to come. That's a story I'm going to be following closely. Of course, as a Model S Plaid owner, I also have huge respect for the Lucid Sapphire, which may just be, you know, bang for the buck, top performance craziness before you get into like Rimac territory for millions of dollars. So yeah, I mean, I'm really keeping an eye on whatever this extra spicy version of the Taycan will be in the near future. Ultimately, the facelift, just to sum it up, is the car got slightly more expensive. Not actually by much, because it has a lot more standard equipment. The car has significantly more range, significantly higher charging power, and on a road trip, this is going to crush our 10% challenge. This is going to crush a cannonball if the infrastructure can support it. That's always the big question. And to be honest, a very market-specific situation. Now, I've seen a lot of comments just from viewers. Of course, we make a lot of Taycan videos. We have a lot of Taycan owners watching our content. And they're like, oh, but I already have the existing car. Honestly, to be totally honest, I think this might be the time. Like, let the prices come down, like for you to buy, if you don't have a Taycan, to buy like a first-generation pre-facelift, because that car still is amazing. And you can get a huge optioned up turbo or Turbo S with all the stuff for a really good deal. You know, right around $100,000, you can get a turbo now, which is just crazy in the used market. And that is still so much car, and more car than most people will ever need. The new car takes it to a whole new era, a whole new level. But there's still, I would say, a small amount of hardcore EV drivers that will appreciate the differences from the old car to the new car. The charging performance is next level. That's why I'm so excited about the new car. The range, of course, is welcomed. The bigger battery is welcomed. Interestingly, you know, I spent some more time with the Porsche engineers. They're like, yeah, degradation, not a problem. You know, that's always been, you know, increased charging power. And all the Tesla guys are like, well, the Plaid charges slower, but the batteries will last longer. I don't have the true answer to that. But what I will say is I pressed the Porsche engineers on it. They're like, nope. I mean, every battery degrades, yes, but the high power charging doesn't seem to do it that much more. So that's why there's no battery-friendly quick charging, which I thought was really fascinating. So there's a lot of stories to tell here. I can't wait to get one on track. Can't wait to do long-distance drives in it. There's still more to experience. I can't wait to drive the car for the first time with the active ride and experience what that is all like behind the wheel. I'll be going to the first drive event, so I'll be able to get those videos for you as soon as I can. And so ultimately, just to summarize this, because I know we've gone on for an hour now, the new Taycan's a beast. I've said that in the other videos. Now I have all the information here for you. There's still more nerd stuff to come on the podcast. Taycan's always a car we've covered closely. Macan will be doing the same. And just like the other popular models, I think it's important. I also think it's really cool how like the Porsche engineers give us all the nerdy detail. Most automakers don't. And I really appreciate that. So huge congrats to the Porsche team. This is one hell of a facelift. I don't even know if we should consider it a facelift. This is like an entirely new running gear to the car. Reducing weight, increasing performance, 938 horsepower. Now we're right on. I mean, I can't wait to do a drag race of this against the Plaid. And then of course there's a rumored spicier version than this. This is crazy. It's so fun. We're playing around in this world. So my mind is blown. It has been blown for weeks. I've had all this information, just me wanting to share all of this with you. And now finally I can. Very few cars get me so excited to share our audience, the details about them. And this is for sure one of them. It's just crazy. So thank you to the Porsche guys for all the great information. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.